First tonight, government ministries put on guard by the Ministry of Labor. This as national strike is looming. The minister with responsibility is responding, calling it premature and unnecessary. Plus, making it easier for fathers to be involved in their children's lives. One attorney is calling for family law to be modernized. And later, our Marlena Leonard introduces to a pup named Yardy, a 10-month-old fur friend that wants to be a part of your family. The details on his miraculous story and so much more as Our News Weekend starts now. This is Our News Weekend. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Megan Shepard. Government ministries are on standby as a national strike is looming. The Ministry of Labor has taken note of this potential national industrial action. And tonight, the Minister of Labor, Pia Glover-Roll, is responding. She says she, along with all relevant agencies and the Prime Minister, have been actively engaged with union leaders over the past year and even up to the final weeks in December. She says the agreement was to review the progress made at the next round of quarterly meetings in March.
Meetings are currently ongoing. There is an agreed timeline to resolve the majority of the issues, some of which we have noted to be resolved by the end of the month. And so in light of this, I have to ask, what's the objective of a national strike when union leaders have already the ear and the full attention of our government? What's the purpose that this disruption will serve when the government is not only listening, but actively working towards solutions? So there's no breakdown in communication.
Glover-Roll says the door of communication remains open as the government continues to demonstrate its willingness to address all concerns. She is admonishing union leaders to adhere to the agreed upon course of action.
A national strike at this juncture is not only premature and unnecessary, but the issue is creating hardship for Bahamians while basically undermining the progress that we are already making with our unions. So as a government, we absolutely remain committed to resolving the matters as quickly as possible. Some matters are easily and quickly resolved, and some matters take a little more time.
With many much-needed upgrades made to the judiciary, one attorney is saying family law needs to be modernized to make it easier for fathers to be involved in their children's lives. Family Law Chairman Renard Henfield telling our Berthany McDermott it's difficult and expensive for fathers to be involved in their children's lives.
Unfortunately, family law in the Bahamas is archaic and it needs to be modernized.
As the judiciary continues to make significant strides, Family Law Chairman Reynard Henfield believes a greater focus needs to be placed on family law in the Bahamas. Henfield was speaking on the sidelines of the opening of the Juvenile and Family Court Complex on Bernard Road. He says, unfortunately, the public perception that has become reality is that family law doesn't seem to care for single fathers.
I find that our laws make it very cumbersome and costly for single fathers to fight to be in their children's lives, which is ridiculous in this day and age when we see what's happening with young men and children in the country. When you hear single mothers complaining that the cost of living is so high, and if they're working, they don't have anyone to keep their kids, but there's a father that wants to be involved, but because a relationship has broken down, some of these mothers are using their children as pawns, and the fathers aren't being allowed to see them, which then causes them to come to a magistrate court.
However, it seems that in most instances, the magistrate's court is unable to assist, according to Henfield, who says single fathers are often turned away and told they have no authority to give him access to his children. This then results in him having to explore the costly venture of seeking assistance from the Supreme Court.
So I think the laws on family need to be modernized to protect the institution of family. If it's going to be family law, then making sure it's easier for parents to be involved in their children's life is what we need to do. So we have a lot to work to do on family law.
The Family Law Chairman also hit out at the process of divorce in the Bahamas. He says that by law, divorces mandate both parties fight.
They must insult each other, bring up old stories and things that hurt them 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and every little comment that they found that could be offensive in some way. And because of that, Matrimonial Causes Act from 1879 that we're using here in 2024 as we roll into 2025, we made it an adversarial system and approach. That then causes families to fall apart even further.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Amid multiple claims of domestic violence coming to light, attorney Lilith Smith Mackey says the Bahamas needs greater protection for victims. She says while there are measures in place, she doesn't believe the public is aware of what's available to them.
The issue now would be communication to the public. Perhaps there can be a video done to say what is available to certain people. You know, we have a very large social media society now, and if that video can be transmitted through WhatsApp, TikTok, just to allow people to know what they have available to them as it relates to protection, as it relates to domestic violence, then that can assist. If that assists one person, it will definitely make a difference.
In 2024, a study from the Inter-American Development Bank shared that 1 in 4 women in the Bahamas had suffered physical or sexual violence in their life, with survivors speaking out about challenges accessing healthcare, law enforcement, and social services in the country. Family Law Chairman Renwood Henfield recently said there needs to be greater legal protection for victims, while Smith Mackey believes the issue is purely on a communication level.
We do have measures in place, but I'm not certain if those measures have been disseminated through the community, through the public, through different domestic violence participants, such as the shelter that offers a wealth of protection for some females. So I believe it's definitely a communication issue.
Meantime, police are investigating a sexual assault that occurred shortly after 2 a.m. Reports indicate that an adult female was returning to her residence on Honeydew Street off Bacardi Road when a male known to her confronted her with a knife. The suspect allegedly sexually assaulted her while outside the home before fleeing the scene. Police are following significant leads. Police are also investigating the circumstances surrounding an alleged suicide attempt by a 31-year-old male sometime around 9 p.m. Saturday night. According to initial reports, he was found semi-conscious at a residence on Sandilands Village Road off Fox Hill Road after allegedly ingesting an unknown quantity of over-the-counter pills. The victim was transported to the hospital by ambulance for further medical treatment and evaluation. The Prime Minister delivering a national address earlier this week announcing several initiatives expected to impact the business community throughout the country. Deputy Chairman of the Bahamas Trade Commission talks one-on-one with our Danielle Miller about the expected benefits of the new initiatives.
Prime Minister Philip Davis revealing several of the administration's economic plans for the year ahead, including a national trade diversification program, competition legislation, and the reduction of value-added tax on food items. Senate Vice President and Deputy Chairman of the Bahamas Trade Commission, Barry Griffin, weighing in as the commission played a key role in crafting the initiatives.
So the Trade Commission is made up of what we call trade commissioners. And so these are persons who are appointed to the board and they represent various facets of society. So for example, we would have a marketing professional on the Trade Commission. We would have shipping and logistics professionals. We have a compliance professional, for example. We have business owners who are part of the Trade Commission. So we intend to get a cross-section of the Bahamian business community as well as the Bahamian society as a whole.
Griffin says over the last 2 years, the Commission has met with business owners, consumers, and international partners to discuss a number of structural and deeply rooted issues. These issues, he says, contribute to the high prices of goods and services in this country.
I think it actually will affect the Family Islands the most. So for anyone who has traveled the Family Islands, if you think Nassau prices are ridiculous, look at the prices of goods in the Family Islands. And so the idea is also to spur competition that will be nationwide. And so in terms of everything we're doing, it's going to be a nationwide sort of rollout, and we're going to encourage more innovation in the Family Islands in particular. So we're looking heavily at the shipping and logistics sector. And so you will see more announcements surrounding things such as the Porterski Dock.
As for what this means for the budding entrepreneurs, Griffin says this.
we are going to see lots of new entrants to the marketplace. We're going to see laws that stop monopolistic practices amongst businesses. And so this really is a historic moment. It's one of the largest economic reforms that the country has seen in its modern history.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Danielle Miller.
Thanks so much, Danielle. Well, Nassau has been ranked the #1 boating city in the Caribbean for 2025, according to a new report by Get My Boat, the world's largest boat rental marketplace. The report highlights Nassau's turquoise waters, proximity to the Exuma Keys, and popular activities like snorkeling at Thunderball Grotto, fishing charters, and visits to Pig Beach. With 167 vessels available, the report says power boats are the top choice for rentals in Nassau. Known as the Airbnb of boats, Get My Boat, which says it has facilitated over 2 million boating experiences globally since 2013, analyzed booking and demand data across the Caribbean to rank cities. Puerto Rico and Colombia rounded out the top 3. When Our News Weekend comes back from the break, cultivating the cannabis crop. An environmentalist is clearing up concerns about potential impact to the land. Plus, a local farm owner in Grand Bahamas sounding the alarm and raising her concerns surrounding the impacts of ongoing brush fires. Those details right after this break.
America's 47th President Donald J. Trump takes office on January 20th. With a decisive victory and clear mandate from the American people, what will his anticipated policy changes in immigration, taxation, climate change, foreign policy, and social reconstruction mean for the Bahamas and the region? Join On the Record with me, Jerome Sawyer, Thursday, January 23rd at 8 p.m. from the nation's capital for a special Mission to Washington.
As the government pushes forward with its updated cannabis legislation, questions are surfacing about the environmental impact of growing marijuana in the Bahamas. Some residents have expressed concerns about how cultivating the crop could affect the local ecosystem. However, agricultural experts are offering reassurance, stating that cannabis farming is comparable to growing any other crop. Environmentalist Eric Carey explained that marijuana, from a farming perspective, is literally just a plant.
I'm not an expert in the legislation, but I would just say from the point of view of agriculture, as an agricultural commodity, it's no different than growing, watermelon, peas, and corn, right? It's literally just the plant, right? It planted from seed, you water it, it grows, it releases oxygen into the atmosphere. So from an agricultural perspective, I don't think it presents any additional challenges. Any challenges different from any agricultural commodity that we're growing in this country.
While a brush fire in Grand Bahama this week raising serious concerns for a local farmer whose business relies on hydroponics and aquaponics. The farm, which supplies vegetables and locally grown seafood to residents and restaurants, was recently threatened by the blaze. When Our News arrived, the fire was still blazing near the property of the farm. Owner of Local Organics Limited, Tiffany Tennyson, says this isn't the first time her property has been at risk due to fires. Reflecting on the past, she claims despite contacting the fire department, the flames spread quickly, damaging valuable equipment in the past and jeopardizing her current operations, and she doesn't want the same result this time around.
Came home at 4 o'clock. The fire had spread onto our property at the back where the chickens are. And along the edge, so we started dampening what we could with hoses. The fire brigade has been called several times, so has Grand Bahama Power because some of their poles are on fire, and the utility company because we're off of a utility road, and if those poles go up, no one in Freeport's getting water. We also have our aquaponics up here, livestock, hydroponics.
While Dennison acknowledges that brush fires are not uncommon, she warns they can pose health risks.
I'm very allergic. That gets into your lungs. You get blisters. So it's far-reaching. And with the fire department, a lot of times they'll say, well, we have to let these things burn out. And that's fine if it's nothing but bush and there aren't people around, there aren't homes around, there aren't businesses around. But at this point, you shouldn't be letting something that is affecting people's livelihood, their property, their possessions, their animals, continue, and even their very health, continue to burn.
Now, we reached out to police in Grand Bahama for a response from the fire department, and they declined to comment on the situation at this time. Still to come on Our News Weekend, it's a story of a miraculous recovery for a 10-month-old pup. We have details on his story and how you can help give him a loving home. But first,
Bahamas Aquatics had their annual general meeting. We'll talk about it next on Our Sports Weekend.
America's 47th President Donald J. Trump takes office on January 20th. With a decisive victory and clear mandate from the American people, what will his anticipated policy changes in immigration, taxation, climate change, foreign policy, and social reconstruction mean for the Bahamas and the region? Join On the Record with me, Jerome Sawyer, Thursday, January 23rd at 8 p.m. from the nation's capital for a special Mission to Washington.
Good evening, happy Sunday. Welcome to Our Sports Weekend. I'm Tej Adderley. This weekend was a big one for the Bahamas Aquatics Federation. Swimming's governing body in the country held their annual general meeting. Algernon Cargill returns as the president of the Bahamas Aquatics Federation. Running unopposed, Cargill has led the way in turning the Bahamas into a regional powerhouse that produces Division I athletes every year and Olympians every cycle. He didn't do it alone. His executive team will include Vice Presidents Lynn Friano, Christina Wallace-Whitfield, and Gina Culmer-Taylor. Georgette Aubrey will also return as secretary, with Andrea Longley as assistant secretary, and Errol Thompson and Kendrick Aubrey will serve as treasurer and assistant treasurer respectively. Some new faces include Courtney Barr, Carrie Sadie, and Mark Anthony Thompson. They'll join the board as members at large. The board will build on their successes so that the Bahamas can continue to dominate swimming in the region. Now we head back to the hardwood, where Bahamians got busy on Saturday night. We had a few games in the NCAA. VJ Edgecombe stuffed the stat sheet. He had 15 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals to help his Baylor Bears tough out a 72-66 overtime win over Arizona State. Dayton Aubrey had 14 points as his Utah State Aggies beat Boise State 81-79. And AJ Storr came off the bench for 4 points as Kansas beat Cincinnati 54-40. And over in the association, DeAndre Ayton sat out with a sore calf as the Portland Trail Blazers lost to the Miami Heat 119-98. Basketball never stops, and you can check all the results on our social media pages and on our newscasts. We are all done with sports for the evening. For Our Sports Weekend, I'm Tej Adderley. Have a great week.
Thanks so much, Tej. On the other side of this break, we head on over to the Weather Center, where meteorologist Ian McKenzie breaks down temperatures for the week ahead. Stick with us.
America's 47th President Donald J. Trump takes office on January 20th. With a decisive victory and clear mandate from the American people, what will his anticipated policy changes in immigration, taxation, climate change, foreign policy, and social reconstruction mean for the Bahamas and the region? Join On the Record with me, Jerome Sawyer, Thursday, January 23rd at 8 p.m. from the nation's capital for a special Mission to Washington.
Welcome back. Well, the holiday weekend is officially winding down. And as to what you can expect for temperatures throughout your work week, well, meteorologist Ian McKenzie fills us in. Ian.
Thanks, Megan, and good evening, Bahamas. Welcome to your Sunday evening forecast as we prepare for a full week, folks. Outside our studios, mostly clear skies with a temperature 72. Feels like the same winds are from the east-northeast at 10 miles per hour. Temperatures across the country. In Freeport, we have 67, 70 in Marsh Harbor, 71 in Allenstown, a trio of 72s in Nicholstown, Great Harbor Key, and in the capital, 74 in Governor's Harbor. Central Bahamas, we have 74s continuing in Kemp Spade, Georgetown, and in Deadman's Key, Long Island, a pair of 73s in Arthurstown and Coburn Town, San Salvador. Southeast Bahamas, we have 75 in Duncantown, 72 in Colonel Hill, 74 in Delectable Bay, Acklands, 77 in Matthewtown, and a pair of 76s in Abrahams Bay, Maguana, and Providenciales, Turks and Caicos. Satellite and radar imagery at this time. We have high pressure building in the wake of that frontal system that's pushing to the central and eventually reach the southeast Bahamas tomorrow. cooler temperatures, more abundant sunshine expected once this front continues to push southeastwards. Boating forecast, we still have those swells out there, so there is a risk for rip currents as well. Winds will be northeast-east at 10 to 15 knots, seas 2 to 4, but up to 7 feet offshore on those northerly swells. Low tide at 12:39 a.m. tomorrow morning, high tide at 7:08 a.m. tomorrow morning. And in your extended forecast, pretty much stable conditions expected throughout most of the week. There may be a chance of a spotty shower Wednesday to Thursday as another front pushes through. Watch those nighttime temperatures eventually begin to tumble by the end of the week and rise by the weekend. So we're hanging in the mid-70s daytime, mid to low 60s nighttime. That's a wrap in the evening forecast. Make it a great, safe, fun week, everyone.
Thanks so much, Ian. Well, it's that time again where we highlight one of the hundreds of dogs and cats at the Bahamas Humane Society ready for a loving home. Tonight, our Marlena Leonard introduced us to Yardy, a 10-month-old puppy who had been left on a chain to starve to death, and her miraculous road to recovery. Let's meet her in this week's Dog of the Week story.
She was rescued by an independent rescue person, a lady called Lisa Thurston, who we've worked with for many, many years. And it had been brought to her notice that 2 dogs had been chained up and basically were starving to death. This young lady was smart enough to pop her chain. She got away, and by the time Lisa got to the yard, her brother had passed away, basically starvation on the end of his chain. Took a little while for Lisa to catch her. She was trapped. She was obviously, she was skin and bone. She was very close to death. And she was just petrified of humans.
But Yardy has had a miraculous transformation during her time with the Humane Society.
Well, you can see her now. She's gorgeous. She's put lots of weight on. She's getting her confidence back. She's looking out the door like, I don't want to go outside again. People will leave me. But our main aim is, of course, to find her a loving home. And she is a very loving dog. She's completely 360 on her personality because she was just terrified of everybody. And she loves her food.
And Moody says she's even gained her confidence with other dogs.
She does have tick fever, but she's on treatment for that. She's almost finished. That should be cleared up fairly soon. And we're not too sure about cats. I don't think she's keen on cats, but she does definitely enjoy the company of other dogs.
Beyond dogs, Yardy has wasted no time establishing herself as a favorite among the humans who interact with her.
She's been out walking with like teenagers. We're not too sure about small kids, but we can try her with some of the smaller kids to see how she does. But she doesn't seem to show any human aggression, which is, it's not strange, it's unusual considering how mean people have been to her. I mean, literally left for dead. And she's doing great. She is a big favourite in the back. Boys love her. The kennel attendants really love her.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
Thanks so much, Marlena. Well, as the world prepares for the upcoming inauguration of America's 47th president, the Our News digital team is releasing a special series, Digital Pages. Our Danielle Miller holds candid conversations with several national leaders and freedom fighters right here at home, uncovering untold stories of our country's history from their perspective. The series, Digital Pages, premieres this Tuesday, January 14th, on the Our News Bahamas YouTube platform. Follow Our News Bahamas on all social media for more in the series. Thank you so much for joining us for Our News Weekend. But before we head out, we want to wish a special happy birthday to our intern, Joshua Wisdom. Enjoy your day. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Megan Shepherd. Have a safe and wonderful evening. Hey guys, Megan Shepherd here. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click that subscribe button if you want to see more content like this. Just click right over here. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so you stay up to date with content like this from the team you already trust.